the improvement in the defensive record been down to what you've been doing behind the scenes? Because 2 clean sheets here, when clean sheets have been really hard to come by, especially at home. That must be really pleasing for you. What have you been doing behind the scenes to show things?
It's pleasing for sure. I think it's a lot. It's not easier, but it's a lot. It's easier winning games if to win games without having to score so many goals every week. For sure, you know. We do seem to be a team that can cause a lot of problems and create opportunities and score goals. So it's definitely getting the balance right. There's still things to improve on. It's definitely something we focused on of trying to be better as a team collectively when we don't have the ball. But 3 or 4 weeks we're not going to fix everything and all of a sudden look perfect. So it's understanding that a little bit. But yeah, I think the boys have responded really well to what we've asked them, and the clean sheet, as much as everything today, the clean sheet was important for us.
Letty.
Hi Michael, what sort of challenge does a team like West Ham pose for you? Obviously they're fighting relegation towards the bottom of the table. Is it a different challenge to approach?
I think you've got to go into the game understanding the situation of both teams. I think we've tried to paint that picture to the players in every game we've played so far, and it'll be the same come Tuesday night. The type of game, the feel of the game, what kind of skills we're going to have to try and draw on. You know, different games throw up different things. So, and yeah, for sure, you know, teams towards the bottom of the league are really fighting for things. So, but so are we, and we've got a lot to fight for. So it's you know, you'd like to think that balances out in some ways, and it's who can come out on top at the end of it. But sure, we're totally aware of what we're going into on Tuesday night and how difficult it will be.
What do you make of West Ham under new head?
Yeah, well, there's a bit of change. I think injuries as well is difficult. I think they're very good on transition, very dangerous. Got some really good attacking players. So we've looked at them already and kind of have an idea with that, as they would have done for us. You know, so. But yeah, they're a threat. They're a threat, and when they get up ahead of steam at home, they're a dangerous team. So. Definitely got to be ready to cope with all that.
Sam?
Michael, you've said in virtually every press conference that you won't get carried away, you won't allow people to get carried away. When you took over at Middlesbrough, you won a lot of matches. There were a couple of defeats, but you won a lot of matches. Is there anything from that period that you can learn about this period and keeping focused and maintaining your sights on the next game and not getting carried away? Because it's an easy thing to say.
No, it's a really easy thing to say. And listen, part of it you got to enjoy the buzz of winning, right? You have to. That's what we're in it for. So you got to manage the highs of it, and you got to enjoy initially the feeling of winning a game. You know, you can't kind of just be flatlined the whole time. But certainly going into the next game, you got to then regroup and prepare again for what's next. But you definitely take the confidence and the feeling from the games that you've had, knowing you can go into the next game with a little bit more feel-good factor about it. But I guess the big challenge is knowing what's got you there and all the hard work and the preparation, and then what it takes to win a game of football at this level is tough. So never assuming the next one's just going to be all right. But you still got to allow yourself to feel a little bit of waves of emotion with it. Because all a little bit boring and pointless if you didn't really, to be honest. Winning games is what we're all strive for, you know. So the boys have been good with that though. They've managed it really well and kind of had the higher to win, come back into training and focused on the next one, and we've got to keep that going.
You won't do what your old manager used to do, give the players a bollocking even when they've won a game or anything like that.
There's a time and a place for everything, Simon, isn't it?
Sarah?
Hi Michael, Bruno said on TV after the game that you remember what he said to you last time you were manager, that you were going to be a great manager, and he still believes it. Can you remember what he said to you last time you were in charge about that, and how does it make you feel to hear someone like that way?
Yeah, no, I've known Bruno for quite some time and know him really pretty well, and seen him the odd time the time that I've left the club and bumped into him at times. So I've got a really good relationship with him, you know, and I understand how much. He's really intelligent footballer. He's bright. He cares a lot for this club. So in terms of that side of it, we all want the same thing, you know. So it's obviously nice when players that you respect, as I do with Bruno a lot, says good things about you, but it's ultimately it's about the team, you know, and getting the best out of the team, and actually that's all working together. So time will tell, you know. It's not about judging how good or successful at this moment in time, because nothing's really happened yet, you know. We hopefully got a lot more to do between now and the end of the season, and see what happens after that.
Dan and then Carl.
Can I just ask you, team news-wise, will Mason be in contention to be back, and also with Matthias, could he be there after the FA Cup kind of break?
They probably will. Mason will be probably not for Tuesday, probably after, but definitely going into the Everton game. Yeah, he'll be back. Matt will be. We'll see how he develops over the Everton game feels like a long time away at the moment, so we'll see how he develops, but he's positive, he's moving in the right direction, but Mason's a little bit closer than him.
It might be absolute tangent, and I apologise in advance for asking this, but there is a young lad who is waiting to get a haircut, and it's been a while. Just wonder how aware you are of him, and will that go into your team talk over WhatsApp?
I can say I'm aware of it, yeah. My kids have made me aware of it, if anything, but it certainly won't go into the team talk from a professional level, but I can understand what's going on with it, and it does make me smile, but it won't have an impact ultimately in the end.
Carl.
Good afternoon, it's Carrick. Congratulations on the win. You mentioned about Bruno Fernandes getting his goal on the left-hand side. Earlier in the first half, there was a moment where he indicated to a man he wanted to swap and move to the right. I just want to know a little bit more about how you let your front four interpret their roles. There seems to be a great amount of creative freedom.
Yeah, within reason, as long as we carry out the roles properly. Yeah, I mean it's not total free for all where you can kind of go and decide. It's a little bit of where you end up. Bruno's that type where he understands the different roles and plays them particularly well again. So and Brian's done very similar. Same, to be honest, Matthias as well, playing sometimes through the middle, sometimes off the left. So it does give us the variety. I think they're all suited to different kind of roles. Ahmad's probably more of natural being wide, and so that's a little bit more predictable if you like. But the flexibility certainly helps us as long as we look after the positions when we don't have the ball.
Okay, thanks everyone.
All right, cheers guys.
Yeah, no, Reece is fit. Small issue. He's feeling unwell today. It's no conspiracy. It's the truth. Hopefully he'll be feeling well enough to be involved in tomorrow's game.
Tomorrow will be a month since your first match in charge. It's very clear that you're enjoying your time here. Do you feel like your message is getting across to the players and how you want to build?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it takes time, but in terms of what's been really encouraging and really pleasing is that the players have taken on so much information, so many team meetings, not many training sessions, and they've put into practice what we've wanted in the main. So yeah, pleasing signs, but we need to continue in that vein.
In terms of Cole Palmer, you said he was world class
Yeah.
the other day. How important is he to what you want to achieve here with this squad?
Yeah, I think any world class player is important to what you want to achieve. So for me, it's been great to see him enjoying his football on Saturday. It's been great to see him banging in the goals, and hopefully his form continues in that way.
It was two very contrasting performances at Wolves, obviously positive first half, not so much in the second half. How do you get your team to give you that full 90-minute performance?
Yeah, I think that's the perfection that you're striving for in every training session, every meeting, every game that you play. Even in the second half, there were some really, really pleasing things in terms of controlling the game, but because the level was so high in the first half, we didn't achieve that level. My aim is that we play a really high level in every minute of every game, and we've had a few conversations about that in the last few days.
Thanks, Chris. Soraya?
Hi. It's still early days, and we know you don't like to limit your players, but when we've seen Josh Achiampong in his time at Chelsea, he's mainly played as a centre-back.
Yeah.
Under you, we've mainly seen him as a right-back. Do you see him as both, and when he's competing to play, is it more for that right-back?
Yeah, if you look at, firstly, Josh is an amazing talent. In the time I've been here, which is a month, I've got to meet him, I've got to meet his parents, and you can see why he's such a great lad, because he's been brought up in the right way. Josh has got immense potential. What I like to do with all of my defenders, especially at the age they are, is put them in different positions, because it improves them. It improves their understanding of the game, it improves their positioning. But yeah, long term Josh is a centre back. and he's got all of the attributes to be an outstanding centre back at a really, really high level. My job is to help him, is to develop him, and I'm really, really looking forward to working with him in the long term.
Talking about that defence, the player that's been mainly primary in defence, breaking the line with their passes, has been Levi Colwill. Obviously he's been out, but we've seen under you, like Fofana, who normally hasn't, maybe under Maresca, has been pinging them passes up the pitch, looking for those passes, which is quite uncharacteristic for him. Is this something that you've spoken about for him? You want to see what he defends?
Yeah, I don't want to limit. Wes 24 years old. Trevor has been magnificent. Josh, Mamadou, Tosin, still young for a centre back. You want to try and improve them. And to do that, you have to put them in positions where they may make mistakes, especially trying to break lines or to play forward. But I want them to feel like they're able to do it. I think Wes has been top in his performances with Trevor. I think Trevor's been great. They can all find passes if the players are in good positions to receive the ball, and that's what we've been working on a lot with them. And hopefully, they continue to improve.
And Chelsea, like a lot of teams with Leeds next, have kind of suffered against the back five or low block. We've seen you be a bit more fluid though, and you've had like 3 central players in between the lines. We've seen some of your solutions. When it comes to these players themselves, did they choose and assess situations on the pitch? Do you want them to have that game IQ in that moment, or are these premeditated plans?
No, it's a great question. When you're the level of player that I get to work with here, the reason they are, most of them, they're top elite world-class players for me is because they make great decisions in the moment. My job is not to tell them where to be. My job is to put them in positions where they can affect the game in their own way. Being fluid, it has positives in terms of being unpredictable for the opposition, but if you do not have the correct structure behind that, you can become really, really open in transition. So I was trying to find a balance between the two. I felt against Wolves there were some really pleasing aspects of our rotations and our fluidity in possession. In the second half, we didn't stay true to our structure. That's one of the reasons why our performance wasn't as good in that half.
Perfect, thank you.
Thanks, Soraya. John?
Hi there. Have you watched the game from Ellen Road, the game earlier in the season in December? I mean, I think it's probably fair to say Chelsea got bullied a bit up there. So what have you learned from that?
You watch every game. It's very difficult for me because I watch games. When I first watched that game, it was as a neutral. I had no idea within 2 or 3 months I'd be manager of Chelsea. Going to Ellen Road is always really, really difficult. Always been difficult. It's a club, their fans have backed them really, really strongly at home. Daniel's an outstanding coach. They're you can see in their recent performance as well, Calvert-Lewin's in really good form. The way that they press, their energy, they're direct in a really positive way. It's going to be a really difficult game again. I'm not here to talk about what's happened in the past or what happened before I was here. I'm focused on the game tomorrow.
And did you expect that same approach from them, that physicality from them? Yeah,
you saw it against Nottingham Forest. They were magnificent in that game. Very forward thinking. And when I say direct, I mean it in a really positive way. They used the strengths of the team. They used Dominic. His movement in the box is outstanding. They get crosses in the box. They counter press really, really well. And we have to stand up to that and overcome those intensity things that are key to the game.
It's pretty relentless, isn't it, at the moment? I think this is your 11th game since you came in. You played Saturday, then you played Tuesday, then you played Friday. So how do you work the workload of the players? How do you balance? How difficult is it to get the right balance?
Yeah, it's difficult. You've seen we've rotated a lot, which you need to do. You need to do it in this stage of the season. I mentioned this before, bearing in mind the players' long-term schedule. You know, they've played all the way through the summer. They've had no pre-season. They've been magnificent. So you have to try and freshen up the team in the right areas, mentally and physically, and you have to be really, really well prepared tactically to give the players the best plans and the best solutions to the problems you face. And so far, I have to say, in my time with them, the players have been great in achieving that.
Is that a concern? Obviously, as you said, it played through the summer, you played through this season, and then you go straight into a World Cup, and then you pretty much come back into pre-season training. For players' welfare, is that a concern?
I think so. Being honest, the thing now with these lads, they are fantastic professionals. on and off the pitch. They look after their body so well. They live for their job, which is so important. Most of them are used to it now. Through their careers, they've played in, whether it's Copa Americas or Mamadou's won the African Nations Cup or the World Cup or the Euros or now the Club World Cup. Their bodies are used to it, but you want the best product possible. And to have the best product possible, you want the best players on the pitch. We have to find a way that we can find a balance between the two.
And just final one on Cole Palmer. Is he ready to start tomorrow? Can he play 90 minutes tomorrow?
He's available for tomorrow.
Okay.
Thanks, John. Simon?
I've got some more team sort of questions, if you don't mind. How's Andre Santos? He sort of went off late on Saturday. Is he okay?
Yeah, Andre trained today. He's absolutely fine. He's a soldier. He had a swollen ankle. It wasn't a great tackle on him. He couldn't continue, but he's absolutely fine for tomorrow.
Good stuff. And sort of other players, how's Tosin getting on?
Tosin's looking good. Tosin trained today as well, which is great to have him in back in and around the group.
Lavio?
Romeo, we have a really detailed plan for him. He was back on the training pitch with us the last 2 days. It's been great to see him. He's such a great player. We all know that. But what we have to do is make sure that when he's back for good. So we're just making sure that he gets the right plan over the next 10 days to 2 weeks to achieve that.
And the final one, Gittins, any sort of update on?
No, nothing new.
Thanks, Simon. Rob?
The squad have shown they can take on the best teams in a football sense, but do they still need to prove some mental toughness? And after what happened at Ellen Road, would this be a good step towards that?
I don't speak about what's happened before me. I can only speak about what I see. Our 2 defeats came against what many people say are the best team in Europe. And I look at those 2 games and the situation we had in terms of player availability. We didn't have full player availability in both of those games. The players are showing me in my time with them extreme mental toughness, extreme quality to come back from 2 goals down against West Ham, to come back in Napoli when they're behind. I'm not questioning their mental toughness at all.
And a lot of the players have spoken quite positively about you and the impact you've had in the last few days. Does it feel to you like you're making an impression on them?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's my job, to be honest. It's always nice when players speak well of you. Most of the time, they just want to stay in the team. So I take it with a smile. I think you can see whether it's Cole or Zhao or Enzo or Moy, all of them, Andre, the defenders, they're playing with a real enthusiasm at the moment. They're enjoying their football. And as a coach, that's very pleasing to see, because if you don't play with enthusiasm, you don't play with energy or intensity. So at the moment, things are looking good. We have to continue. The demands have gone up. It's going to be a physical game tomorrow, but the signs are looking really, really good for what we want to achieve together.
Thanks, Rob. We'll finish with Martin.
Hi, Liam. In the 9 games you've been in the dugout, Chelsea scored 22 goals, 11 different goal scorers. You count the game that you watched at Fulham, the 12th different goal scorer. Is that a consequence of the way you're wanting your team to play, or is it a consequence of the fact that you do, through rotation, change the team a lot?
I just think it's to do with the fact we've got so many good players. To be honest, we've got so many different threats. You see Marc Cucurella, you see Malo Gusto heading the ball and the opposite fullbacks in the box trying to score. That's the type of football that I believe in. And when you have different threats on the pitch, it's so difficult to cover that. So at the moment, in terms of goal scoring record, it's really, really good. I would like more clean sheets with that. And we've got to try and make sure we get the balance of our game right.
Mikel Arteta's work at Arsenal is being viewed in an even brighter light after the recent coaching shakeups elsewhere. With Chelsea parting ways with Enzo Maresca and Manchester United moving on from Ruben Amorim, the contrast is hard to miss. Arsenal has kept moving forward under Arteta, giving him time through difficult stretches, and now seeing the payoff as the club pushes again in the Premier League title race. It also raises a bigger question about strategy. While Chelsea and United are changing direction again, Arteta has been in place for more than 6 years, outlasting a long list of managers across those 2 clubs in that span. That stability has become part of the story, and it was a major talking point on the Seeing Red podcast with Tom Canton and John Cross. Beyond reacting to Amorim's dismissal and breaking down wins over Aston Villa and Bournemouth, plus Manchester City's loss to Chelsea, the conversation kept returning to one core idea: structure. Not just who is the coach, but how much power that coach has, and whether the club is built to support a long-term project. Cross pointed to Arsenal as a rare example of patience turning into real strength. He argued that Arsenal's willingness to back Arteta through the messy early phases helped create the stable position they're in now, and that this kind of time and support investment is what can turn a club into something truly solid. Canton's response was sharp and honest. Arteta's arc, he said, has almost become a problem for other clubs, because it tempts them to keep coaches they probably shouldn't. But at the same time, it's still the best example of what can happen when you hire the right person and actually give them time. And that time wasn't smooth. The discussion highlighted how Arsenal could easily have pulled the plug early. 2 8th-place finishes, then 5th, missing out on the Champions League, and a Europa League semi-final exit to Unai Emery's Villarreal. Any of those moments could have pushed a club into panic mode. Instead, the argument is that Arsenal recognized the bigger reality. Arteta didn't have the resources to compete at the required level right away. The squad needed a rebuild. The roster needed to be refreshed. That's where the comparison to Chelsea and United becomes even more pointed. The podcast suggested that recruitment and decision-making structure are often what determine whether a coach survives. If signings don't land, results suffer. And if a coach doesn't have enough influence, or the club isn't aligned behind a clear plan, it becomes much easier for things to collapse. In other words, giving time only works if the coach is empowered to shape the team in a way that matches the vision. Cross also emphasized that Arteta's situation stood out because he pushed to be a true manager, not just a head coach. The idea is simple. Top coaches want a real say in the build, and they want the club to match what they were promised when they took the job. The discussion even pointed to how Arteta survived a low moment, like the home loss to Burnley, because the club stayed behind him. And in that period, with fan pressure affected by the COVID-era environment, Arsenal were able to hold their nerve instead of reacting emotionally. Meanwhile, the big unknowns now shift back to Chelsea and Manchester United. Who replaces Amorim? And how will the next chapter look at Chelsea? The answers may come sooner than people expect. But for Arsenal, the reality stays the same. They're stable, they're moving forward, and they're still in the title chase, while others are starting over again. And that contrast can shape how people judge every manager in the league. Because when two massive clubs hit the reset button again, it forces the same question Cross raised on the show. Is the quick switch actually fixing the problem, or just delaying the real work? The bigger takeaway from the discussion is that time isn't a magic solution by itself. It only becomes valuable when the club's structure supports the plan, and when the coach has the influence to push the squad in the direction he believes it needs to go. That's why the distinction between head coach and manager kept coming up. The podcast point is that if a coach is expected to own the results, he usually wants a meaningful say in the decisions that shape those results. And if he doesn't get that, patience alone won't save him. That's also where Arteta's early struggles get reframed. Those finishes and setbacks could have become a reason to panic. Instead, they became evidence of why alignment matters, because Arsenal chose to treat them as part of a build, not a final verdict. And once the squad was reshaped the way the club believed it needed to be, the results started to reflect that long-term approach. So the repercussions aren't just about Arsenal looking stable, it's about how stability changes your margin for error. When you don't reset every year, you're not constantly starting from zero. You're building on decisions, learning from setbacks, and keeping a clearer identity. For Chelsea and Manchester United, the immediate consequence is obvious. They're changing direction again, which means the next appointment carries even more weight. Because every new coach isn't just judged on results. He's judged on whether the club is finally giving him the structure and authority that the role demands. That's why the question at the end matters so much. Who will replace Amorim? And how will Liam Rosenior do at Chelsea? Because those answers will test the exact theme the show kept returning to. Time, support, structure, and control. And for Arsenal, it's a different kind of pressure. Stability doesn't guarantee trophies, but it does keep you in the fight longer. And right now, while others restart, Arsenal get to stay focused on what they're already doing, chasing the Premier League title.